Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Going bell to bell with the best in professional wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's get to all the exciting pro wrestling action and bring on the host. Here is Mark Hoke.
And we are back on the Mark Hoke Show, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. And we lost Bryan there for a second. Dave, say something for about 30 seconds for me.
How's everybody doing? It's Sunday morning, man. I'm feeling beautiful. I'm feeling blessed. And Mark Hoke's handling some business. So let's get to the real meat and potatoes of this episode here. Are we ready to go? We think so? No, Mark, he's still doing his thing. So, yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. We got Bryan Alvarez coming up, man. I think we're going to tap into it. He was actually there. Here's a fun fact. He was actually there when Mark got diagnosed with type 3 diabetes.
That is very true.
So we'll see his reaction to that. Oh, you're back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Just had to answer the phone. We unfortunately lost our connection with Bryan there. You try and do that stuff when you're on the break.
Things happen.
Things happen. It's all good. So, yeah, but this is going to be a great hour. We're looking forward to having Bryan Alvarez on the show. It's going to be a pretty exciting hour here coming up, and we'll have a little bit more about other goings-on in pro wrestling, touching on our pay-per-views and everything else happening this week. It's going to be a massive week, to say the least, David Difference.
Oh, yeah, let's say that. And don't forget, Future Shock is back at FSW next weekend.
That's right.
It's going down, man, to July 1st. It's Q3, man. I'm telling you, the energy right now is crazy because I go into Q3 and like goal setting and so there's a shift in energy. So I apologize if I've been a little rude to you lately, Mark.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm just purging.
Broken limbs, broken back from the all the bus driving and the pain you're causing me, but it's okay. I still love you, David Difference.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I love you too. I love you too, man.
Got to keep those co-hosts under control. And one guy who's generally pretty good at that, we are very happy to have on the show today. And this is an honor for me, to be very frank, to have this gentleman coming on from Wrestling Observer, keeping Dave Meltzer and Vinny and Mike and all those guys, in the right place. Keeping things rolling, but really presenting the best in wrestling news across the planet. And we are thrilled to have a guy who not only is good at his job, but he could kick your butt too. Did you know that, David?
So I've heard. Man.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Bryan Alvarez on the Mark Hoke Show. Bryan, how are you today?
I love you guys too.
There you go. It's a love fest in here.
What do you do to keep your co-hosts under control, by the way? Because I'm losing it with David.
What do? I don't do anything. I let him go.
There you go. That's great advice, man. Good way to start this off.
Thank you.
let me go.
Good Lord. I can see this is off to a flying start. Oh, man. Well, Bryan, let's dive into some of the interesting news that's been popping up lately. And I'm going to take this right backstage because that's one of your specialties. First, I want to talk about what's going on with WWE. And, of course, Vince McMahon was digging into creative pretty heavily. He has apparently taken over since about April. And there were some people that just haven't been happy with what's going on back there. I'm sure there's a few that are. But, Bryan, what is the situation with morale at WWE and all the changes that Vince is making to the show and taking creative back?
Well, I don't think that it's quite as bad as some people are thinking. I mean, he's clearly back. And the big issue actually was, I think it was the night after WrestleMania, where the night after WrestleMania, like everything, I mean, he was there in the building and everything got changed. And people were very, very upset because when he initially left, I mean, morale really shot up. And the reason for that is because everything that had been done was not being done anymore, in the sense that, he would show up every week. He would change everything around on Monday. He would tear up scripts. He would sometimes change things as the show was going on. And it was very frustrating for the wrestlers because you would do a show Monday, and then they would announce that you were going to have a match the following Monday, and you'd have a week to think about it and do this or that. And then Monday afternoon would come, and all of a sudden you weren't doing the match anymore. And there was a lot of frustration because there was no real week-to-week. Certain things would continue on, but in general, like if you weren't Roman Reigns or whoever, you would be scheduled for something that then wouldn't happen. So when he left and Triple H took over, I mean, it was funny because before that, you could watch Raw and they would announce, 4 things for the following week's Raw. And then the funny thing would be, will even one of them happen?
Right.
And, oftentimes none of them would. Well, once he was gone, they would announce 4 things for the following week, and then the 4 things would happen. And people would be involved in storylines, and people would be advertised for this and that, and they would show up and do what they were scheduled to do. And so, for a lot of different reasons, and obviously another reason that morale was up was because of everything that Vince was accused of, and there were a lot of people that didn't want him there anymore because of that. But morale was night and day once he was gone last summer. So once WrestleMania came and he returned, and then particularly not only returned, but that Monday, it was right back to what it had been. Everything was torn up. Everything was rewritten. People were very upset about that. But aside from that week, the following week, it was kind of back to where it was. And then, the week after that. So he'll be in, I think he's been only a handful of shows since WrestleMania. But, there have been things that have been scrapped. There have been things that have been changed. But in general, it's still, Triple H largely putting the show together with his crew. And so it's not as bad as it was before. There's, a little bit of frustration here and there based on certain things. But morale is still much better than it was a year ago at this time. So there's always going to be issues. But in general, I mean, people are still a lot happier now than they were before.
Well, that's good to hear. Because in a lot of what we'd heard before was people were just ready to get the heck out of the building, even though it was WWE. And, that has to be frustrating when you're trying to do your job and you can't stand the place you work. And especially when you're in the public eye like that, it had to be so frustrating for everybody dealing with that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of frustration, and, it was interesting because you had a alternative, which was AEW. And for a while there, it was funny when AEW first started, there was so much frustration within WWE that a lot of people wanted to get out. And then, they got out, some of them. And then, Vince ended up leaving and Triple H took over. And then you had people that wanted to go back. And so, it's like, it's a job and the grass is sometimes always greener. But the thing with wrestling is you just never know what's going to happen. Like all of those people that wanted to get out because of Vince, then Vince is gone and now they want it back. But then Vince comes back. You never know what's going to happen in wrestling. So really, I mean, who am I to give advice? But you just got to do the best you can with whatever hand you're dealt because, if you're expecting that there's going to be a change, it's going to be permanent in wrestling, it's not going to happen.
Well, let's go to the other side in AEW. And what's happening over there, because we have CM Punk back, and obviously we had the big brawl at All Out and everything that has taken place back there with all the drama with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Where is that situation right now? And what is everybody in the locker room that you're hearing saying about how they're feeling about what's happening with CM Punk?
Well, I mean, if you go on the internet, you'll read a lot of things and you'll hear a lot of things. And a lot of that is based on only hearing part of the story that somebody posted on a message board or whatever. But in general, the whole story is just, there are 2 sides in the locker room. There is a side that is pro CM Punk and there is a side that is anti CM Punk. And anybody who's trying to paint an overall picture of the situation in AEW, I mean, there is no overall picture other than there is a faction of the locker room that is happy that he is there, and there is a faction of the locker room that is very unhappy that he is there. And one of the reasons that they're doing Collision the way they're doing it is because you've got, certain people that are happy he's there that are going to work on Saturdays. You have other people that are not happy that he is there that are working on Wednesdays. And it's not like a hard brand split or anything like that. But if you watch the last 2 weeks, I mean, there are people that are largely going to be on one show, and there are people that are largely going to be on the other show. And they haven't made a big deal about it, but it exists. And there were people on Wednesday that were unhappy that he was there on Wednesday because they'd been given the impression that he wasn't going to be there. And there were other people that don't care at all. So it's kind of like, because it's wrestling and because people report on things, it can kind of be blown up into something bigger than it is. But in reality, what it is it's any workplace where you have somebody that works there. Sometimes it's the boss. Sometimes it's, the person who has to play bad cop or whatever. And there's a portion of the people that work there that they don't like the person at all. There are people there that like the person a lot. And there are people there that are ambivalent to the person. And it's just like that in AEW. The only real difference is it's something that is very public. And because of the personalities and a lot of personalities in wrestling being larger than life, things get amplified on each side. The people that don't like Punk, they really don't like him and they want stories out. And there are people that really like Punk and they want to say that everything's fine. But, the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle. It's not fine. It's not like everybody is happy, but it's also not like everybody is unhappy. But he is a very polarizing character. So the people that are happy, it's cult of personality. And the people that are unhappy are they're really unhappy. So that's the story.
And, of course, we're on the Mark Hoke Show with our very special guest, Bryan Alvarez from Wrestling Observer. Will we ever get to a Punk Omega match, see Punk get in the ring with Kenny or the Bucks at some point? Do you think that they can finally bury it enough to do it?
I would say that I don't like to say 0% chance in wrestling, but I think there's probably 0% chance we're ever going to see CM Punk and the Young Bucks in the ring together. CM Punk and Kenny Omega, I think, is possible. I don't know if it's probable, but I think there's a possibility that a match like that happens. And, I say that because, the Bucks have never said anything publicly, but, there's a lot going on there. And Kenny Omega has done interviews, and Kenny Omega has said things like, well, these things happen in sports locker rooms and that sort of thing. And that has certainly given people the impression that he might be willing to work with CM Punk. It also could be that, he's asked about it and he wants to be a professional, a company guy, try not to make it seem like this is more than it is. So he could just be saying that. I don't know. But I don't think that you're ever going to see CM Punk and the Hangman in the ring together. I don't think you're ever going to see CM Punk and the Young Bucks in the ring together. I think it's possible CM Punk and Kenny Omega, but I'm not supremely confident about that one either.
Definitely. So my take on it is, obviously you've been a legend in this business as far as covering behind the scenes, but isn't it almost like the behind the scenes sells the matches more so than some of the storylines that are written, and you don't think that there's a chance of this happening?
I don't think there's any chance of this happening. I think of that. Well, there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one is I don't know this because nobody has said these actual words, but from listening to things that Punk has said and listening to things that other people have said, it might actually be a legal reason that they are not going to ever have a match together. They may not. There may be something going on where they are not allowed to even be in the same building together, which is going to be very interesting tonight because they're all on the same card. So we're going to find out a lot more tomorrow. If they sequester certain people on a bus while other people are in the building and then switch them out and fight, that's going to tell you a lot. But the other thing is, and this is something that people have, they say it over and over again. Well, think of all the money that they could make together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this is not WWE where people get a pay-per-view bonus. This is not WWE where people get bonused on, whatever. Everybody is on a contract. Everyone gets a salary, essentially. I don't know what the Young Bucks make, but let's just say they make $2 million a year. Let's say the Punk makes $3 million a year. Whatever. I'm just throwing out random numbers here. Okay. If they do a feud together, neither side is making any more money. At best, they might make a little bit more money on merchandise. But they're not getting a pay-per-view bonus. Like if they do a pay-per-view together and the pay-per-view does 500,000 buys, nobody makes $1 more. So this idea that everybody can make more money together, everybody can make more money together, everybody can make more money together. They don't. Their contracts are not structured in a way that anybody is going to make more money together. They are going to be working with somebody that they really don't like for free. I mean, you could argue that, okay, well, it's going to help the company or this or that. Yeah, you could make that argument. But when you've got an issue that involved, a locker room fight, which is not just like, oh, well, this happened in hockey. Yeah, people swing at each other and it gets pulled apart. I mean, this was an extended, locker room brawl where people were throwing chairs at each other. People were biting each other. I mean, people were sent home and couldn't work for extended periods of time. And obviously Punk couldn't work because he was injured, but he was sent home one way or the other. I mean, there are very, very, very bitter feelings on both sides, obviously. And, telling these people that are very upset, hey, work together because you'll all make more money. Right. I mean, on all sides, it's like there is no more money to be made here. There's no more money to be made unless we sell more T-shirts. And, it's not like CM Punk is having problems selling T-shirts. It's not like the Young Bucks are having problems selling T-shirts. I mean, there is no real financial incentive to those parties to work together. So that's the other reason I don't think it's ever going to happen on top of, whatever might be a legal issue as far as these people communicating with each other. According to CM Punk, he is not allowed to communicate with the Bucks in any way. He's claimed, I would like to apologize, but I was told you are not allowed to contact these people. So if he's not allowed to contact these people to issue an apology, then they're certainly not going to be in the ring together doing a match.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, of course, we've got Bryan Alvarez on. And, Bryan, we're going to take our commercial break that we need to sneak in here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to you about the two big events coming up this week and a whole lot more. And maybe we'll get a little personal with Bryan Alvarez, too. I think we got to do that, David.
Let's do that.
That sounds like a plan. So when we come back, more with Bryan Alvarez from Wrestling Observer. He's the best. And that's why we got him on the show because, well, he's that darn good. So stick around, everybody. We got a whole lot more here on the Mark Hoke Show. When we come back, Bryan Alvarez and a whole lot more.
Get ready for one of the most exciting and interactive events on the pro wrestling calendar. The 57th Annual Cauliflower Alley Club Reunion at the Plaza in Las Vegas. Meet some of your all-time professional wrestling favorites. Check out the wrestling memorabilia. Participate in terrific seminars and star-studded events, including Tuesday and Wednesday night CAC Awards and dinner nights. Visit caulifloweralleyclub.org and get your tickets and membership today. That's caulifloweralleyclub.org.
101.5 FM KDAWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
And we are back. Another segment here on the Mark Hoke Show. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment right here on KDAWN 101.5 FM. We are the talk of Las Vegas. I'm Mark Hoke along with the David Difference.
Oh, what a difference a Dave makes.
Usually.
And Bryan, Mark wants to apologize about the way he outroed that last section, man. he wasn't sitting well.
Oh, my God.
Could have been smoother.
Well, we all do our best.
Yeah. When you get in the presence of greatness, sometimes you get a little flustered.
Thank you.
Stop it.
You're talking about
Stop it, David Difference.
All right.
Unbelievable. Well, Bryan, of course, we've got two big events this week, and I want to get your quick thoughts on those. Forbidden Door tonight. 14 matches on this card.
Wow.
It's going to be a long show. But for people that aren't familiar with a lot of the Japanese wrestlers and maybe a more casual fan and just watch WWE, what should they be expecting from this card tonight?
Well, that is a lot of matches that we've gotten. This is par for the course for an AEW show. The two big matches, I mean, to really play to everyone's strengths. I mean, both of those matches should go almost a half hour. and that means a little less time for everything else on the show. And normally everything works out fine with AEW pay-per-views. I mean, sometimes I'll watch them, and it seems to me that, you should have done less matches and give more time to other matches on the card. But, we don't know until the show's over. It's probably going to go till about 8:45 Pacific. But for those of you that don't watch a lot of New Japan, I mean, it's a very there's no real way to describe it other than it's a little more hard-hitting, a little more, I don't know. I don't really want to compare because people end up getting mad, but everybody who's going to be working on the show for the most part, they're great professional wrestlers. And if you have not considered buying the show, I would strongly consider it because I think in ring it's going to end up being an awesome show. It looks a lot better than last year's Forbidden Door, which was a great show. And, a guy like Okada, I mean, he is such a great pro wrestler. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to do a lot of high flying. He's not a guy that's going to do whatever. I mean, he is great. He is a guy that could step into WWE and be one of the best guys on the show in the ring. He's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in my life. Some say he's the greatest wrestler who has ever lived. And him and Bryan Danielson in the main event is going to be an unbelievably awesome match. And Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega is going to be a totally different, totally awesome match. I mean, it's going to be a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more explosive. Probably going to see a lot more high flying in that match as compared to the Okada match, but it won't be a high flying match. It'll be just a hard hitting, explosive pro wrestling match. So if you don't watch a lot of New Japan, I think if you watch this show, you're going to want to watch more New Japan, just based on some of the guys you'll get a chance to see maybe for the first time. And if you are a regular viewer of New Japan, I mean, Bryan Danielson and Okada is like an all-time dream match, and you're getting it tonight.
And, one that I wanted to mention to you, Tom Lawlor got on the card. Of course, you work with Tom at Wrestling Observer. How excited are you to see Filthy Tom doing his thing on an AEW pay-per-view?
I am very, very excited. I wish he would have done his angle with Adam Cole on Dynamite, but what can you do? He came out there on Rampage. They shot the angle. And yes, our own Filthy Tom Lawlor is going to be in there with Adam Cole tonight. And, I'm a big fan of Adam Cole, and he's a super nice guy, much nicer than old Filthy Tom. But I guess we have to root for our own Filthy here on the show, even though he's let me down countless times.
Ouch.
I know the feeling.
Come on.
I know the feeling. It's okay.
Let's not start this. We're super friends this week. Let me ask you something. You've been doing this
You're not let down in a way where your stump was pulled, Mark, like I was.
Yeah, it ain't that bad yet. We haven't got to that stage yet.
Good, David.
So you've been reporting on wrestling news for eons, many moons. What has been like some of the biggest changes, like as we hop into like internet and as far as gathering your information and then reporting the information, like what has been some of the biggest changes, evolution over time?
Well, obviously the biggest change is you don't talk to people on the phone all the time so much. I mean, it happens, but a lot of people, it's a lot of text messaging. It's a lot of DMs. I think that's, as far as communicating with people, that's obviously the biggest difference. But, there have been so many changes in wrestling, and at the same time, it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the thing that is probably the biggest change is just the immediacy of, fans being allowed to voice their opinion. When I started, you could go on AOL or, they had Usenet, and, you could communicate with fans there. But in general, it was such a small percentage of the audience that was doing that. Whereas, nowadays there's the immediacy of Twitter and Reddit and message boards and really you say anything and everybody just comes out of the woodwork. And most of it's negative, of course. Right. And it certainly wasn't like that in the 90s. And I try to think of God, can you imagine if Twitter was around during the Monday Night Wars or the Montreal screw job.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I'd probably be doing something else right now. But that's obviously social media is a major change. And I would say that, there's good things about social media. I use and everything like that. But, overall, I think it's, for most people, probably a pretty big negative because, a lot of people live and die by what are people saying about me? What are people writing about me? And, those people were much better off when, there was just an observer that came out once a week that they didn't have to read if they didn't want to. Now it's like everybody is addicted to their phones. They're addicted to Twitter. They're constantly looking to see what people say about them. And, it's often not positive, no matter who you are. And so, I think that's been, for a lot of people personally, it's been a big negative. But, as far as being a wrestler or being a fan, I mean, it was interesting to watch the Collision show last night, and there was a moment where Chris Jericho came out and he was going to announce his partner. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Darby and Sting were going to announce their partner for the match with Chris Jericho and Sammy and Minoru Suzuki, and I think it actually was Darby. Darby goes, "This person has beaten you at the Tokyo Dome." And all of a sudden, all of these people in Toronto started chanting for Naito. And he'd never been – I mean, the only way you would know about that is if you went on the internet or if you watched New Japan on New Japan World. And this giant Naito chant broke out. And it was like all of these fans have been watching New Japan. And I think obviously everybody that bought tickets, or the majority of them, knew that it was going to be a go-home show for Forbidden Door. So it attracted a certain kind of fan. But it's just amazing. If you're a fan nowadays, or if you're a wrestler, I mean, man, the old days, you had to, find somebody that was going to be able to get tapes from Japan, or you had to go to the local Japanese video store and see what they had that had been, aired 6 months ago that the tape is finally out for. It's like, man, you can watch all this stuff live. I mean, you can watch all of these indie shows. You can watch all of these pay-per-views. You can watch Stardom. You can watch New Japan. You can watch everything immediately. And it's not all that expensive, $9.99 a month or whatever to watch unlimited New Japan. So that's one thing about the business that's changed, and it's changed for the better. Everybody can watch everything from everywhere for virtually nothing. And that's a great thing.
How do you deal with the negativity? I mean, I've heard so many people say, "Oh, you're a shill for AEW" and all that kind of stuff. And Dave takes his shots all the time. How do you handle that?
Well, for the most part, I don't care. I do get irritated. What gets irritating is when something gains traction. If I put out the ratings and then, people start tweeting all of this stuff. A good example is yesterday. I was watching Collision, and, everyone has this idea now that I hate CM Punk, and that's irritating. So, no matter what I say, everybody looks at it through the lens of, boy, this guy hates CM Punk. So the show last night in Toronto, I mean, when he came out, I mean, my God, this building, it was half the fans absolutely hated this guy. The other half absolutely loved this guy. They all tried to shout each other down. It was very much like when John Cena was a heel. And so, I tweeted that out. This is a John Cena reaction. Half the people love him, half the people hate him, and then they're trying to shout each other down. So I'm watching the match, and the longer the match goes, the more heat CM Punk was getting, the more boos that he was getting. And so, by the 20-minute mark, when, they're getting heat on CM Punk and everything Jay White does, they cheer like crazy, and then Punk tries to do something to Jay White and they all boo the guy. So I'm like, man, the longer this goes, it's like 80-20. And so as soon as I tweeted that, it's like everybody had to go crazy. It's not 80-20. It's 75-25. It's but. And I'm like, bro, first off, did I ever say it was bad that it was 80-20? I mean, I never said it was bad. I never said it was negative. I never said there was anything wrong with it. I never said that CM Punk was a bad person because more people were booing him. I'm sure. I mean, if you watch CM Punk when he first debuted, whatever it was, a year and a half ago or whatever, he did promos where he made it very clear, at some point I'm turning a heel. I mean, he's got no problem with it. I'm sure he loved being a heel. So anyway, that went all nutty, and then, everyone's trying to find some ulterior motive, and then on my TV it was this or that. It's like, bro, did you watch the match? I mean, it wasn't 50-50 at the end of that match. It just wasn't. But, people get all angry, and then there's a reason they're angry, and then they blame you for this or that. That's irritating. And then when they take something that you said, like a line, and they blow it up into something that it's not, and then it, goes all over the place. And there's a big thread on Reddit, and then everybody – and it's like, I never said that. I'm not mad at the guy. I don't hate the guy. That's irritating. But in general, it's like, if I tweet something you don't like it, I don't care. If I tweet something you get upset about, I don't care. But it's when something gets blown out of proportion and then goes all over the internet. Yeah, then I spend a day having to go, oh God, here we go, another one of these.
That is hilarious. Of course, we're on with Bryan Alvarez from Wrestling Observer. And Dave and I are fathers, and we had Chris Van Vliet on the show a little while ago, and he was just getting ready to have his first child. And how has things changed for you since you've had your kids?
Well, everything has to be a lot more, I don't know if compartmentalized is the right word, but, before kids, it was like I could be working on stuff all the time. With kids, that can't happen. When I first had a child, both of them actually, when they were babies, it's hard to go. It's one thing when you have a wife and it's like, okay, I got to do an interview at 9 a.m. and then I'll be done by 10. Okay. Well, when you have kids that are newborns, it's like you can't tell an 18-month-old, hey, I'm going to do an interview from 9 to 10. Can you not cry? So, you had to, before it was like I could do things at all times during the day. But once you have kids, okay, well, I'm going to record shows when they're at school, and then I'm going to do stuff after they go to sleep, because those are the two times where they are not around. Although, for a long time there, even at the beginning, it's like, well, they're still around in the middle of the night too, because they wake up and they start screaming. So it's different. You have to, book things, so to speak, at different times. One of them's downstairs screaming right now, so figure out what's going on there. But it's just making time for what you're going to do. Which, of course, the benefit is I work for myself, but it's easier than having to. Actually, I don't know if it's easier than having to go. Maybe it would be easier if I just left to go to work at 9 a.m. and came home at 5. They wouldn't be around at all. But, when you work at home, it's like you got to choose certain times to do certain things and work around certain things. But it can be done. But it's obviously you have to learn to do a lot of things a lot differently.
Yeah, with so much going out there, I just want to ask you this, man. Like I said, you've been doing it for many moons, at the top of your game. Are you still in love with wrestling, and are you grateful for the life you've been living?
Well, I'm super grateful. I mean, I'm very, very happy. There are things that are irritating here and there, and when you're in the public eye and there's something irritating, and you talk about something that's irritating, people go, well, I wish I could talk about wrestling for a living.
All right.
And it's like, listen, everyone complains about their job. It just happens. It doesn't matter what your job is. I mean, everybody complains about it sometimes. Doesn't mean they don't like it. Doesn't mean they don't appreciate it. I'm very appreciative for everything. And in general, I still do love wrestling. It's different now. I mean, before it was like, okay, I watch what I want to watch, and, what I like, I watch, and what I don't like, I don't watch. But, at this point, it's, I got to watch, everything that I need to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't watch everything, but, the stuff that our listenership and fan base are most interested in, I got to try and watch all of that. And, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and you just got to make the best of it. And sometimes you even have to watch things on purpose that are horrible because your fan base wants to hear you talk about it. And we're doing that now on Tuesdays as we go back and watch TNA shows from 21 years ago, which, my God, there was some horrible stuff there. But you know what? The people want the reviews, and so I bite the bullet and I do them. But, I may suffer for 2 hours, but in the end, I get to get it off my chest on the radio show. So, I love it. I still enjoy wrestling. I'm very excited for the show this afternoon. But, yeah, sometimes it's not the most fun thing in the world, but what is?
Right. I think that's with anything. And we were at the media scrum with you out here in Las Vegas, and we just wanted to give you a heads up. Mark does not have type 3 diabetes there, in case you were wondering.
Well, that's good to know, because that's a very serious diagnosis. You would have been the first. Actually, you know what? I think there might actually be a type 3, now that I think about it. I think you could look it up, but I think there actually is something that they classified perhaps as type 3. But I don't think MJF knows that, so it was a false diagnosis.
Yeah, okay. That's the first I heard of that.
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't know MJF was a doctor until I got flamed. So, but Bryan, I know you got to get rolling here with the kids screaming and everything. But tell everybody, in case they've, believe it or not, never checked out Wrestling Observer, where they can find you and what all you guys have going on.
Well, you should go to WrestlingObserver.com. That's our website, and everything you ever wanted to know about everything involving us and wrestling is up there. And I guess the gist of it is we have a subscription area, and if you sign up, you just get nothing but Wrestling Observer newsletters and shows. Pretty much, I mean, we have 15,000 archived shows. So if you like wrestling radio, which you do because you're listening to this show right now, I mean, we have 15,000 shows in the archives. And if you signed up today, I mean, you could never listen to them all. You just can't. It would be literally impossible to listen to all of these shows. But that means you'll never run out. So if you've got a commute or if you, work out and like to listen to stuff, I mean, there's so much audio there to listen to. And there's new stuff pretty much every single day. And if you happen to listen to all the new stuff and want more, I mean, we have all of the archives. I mean, it is a treasure trove of wrestling audio at WrestlingObserver.com. Yes, and you get Dave's newsletters, everything dating back to 1990. I mean, there's more stuff than you could ever go through, but it's a lot of fun. So check out WrestlingObserver.com if you're a fan of wrestling, and I think you'll appreciate it in the end.
Dave, I think you should start right now. Let's see how long it takes.
Yeah, the rest of my life.
Yeah, that would be fun. Well, Bryan, hey, I want to thank you sincerely for coming on the show today. We really do appreciate it, and it means a lot to me you took the time to join us here on the Mark Hoke Show. Always a pleasure, and maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you guys having me on, and be happy to do it again, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck, and hey, have a great day.
You too.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
There you go. Bryan Alvarez, everybody.
There you go, man. I've never seen you so giddy and flustered.
Oh, I've done worse. I think when I interviewed Sarge, I was
Sergeant Slaughter.
I was pretty hyped up for that one. But yeah, I mean, as you hear, I mean, if we wanted to, if we had 7 hours, we could do a 7-hour show with Bryan. Even though he wouldn't want to do a 7-hour show. I'd do a 7-hour show because I'm insane.
Yeah, I'd go do something else. But I'd take a couple breaks. But, great interview there. And, just tons of, like I said, a wealth of knowledge there. And it's fascinating. I mean, now everybody's out the woodworks. Everybody's got a podcast or a newsletter or something. Just the longevity and the respect that he has in the industry. It's magical, man. It's magical. I appreciate you booking him today. Finally booked a guest.
Wow.
Just playing. You're doing everything around here, Mark. I just come in and grab the mic. I shouldn't even be grabbing the mic.
Right, it pops when you grab it.
Yeah. I pop. The crowd pops when I grab it.
Oh, God, a cheap pop. Anyway. How about we take a break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap this thing up with myself, Mark Hoke, and the David Difference, the best in pro wrestling news and entertainment on KDAWN 101.5 FM. We are the talk of Las Vegas. Stick around as we close this thing out on the Mark Hoke Show.
Yay!
Infinite Wellness can help you achieve your goals and look and feel your best. Our regenerative medicine clinic utilizes stem cell and exome therapy. We also have a comprehensive weight loss program and numerous other services you can find on our website at infinitewellness.info. We're located at 8925 West Post Road, Suite 100, right across from IKEA. You can book your appointment today by calling us at 702-842-2244 or find us on social media at infinitewellness.lv. We'd love to be a part of your journey.
If you're looking for an award-winning dining experience at outstanding prices, look no further than Unique Eats. Whether it's their incredible breakfast platters, amazing pastas and sandwiches, or world-renowned pizzas, celebrity chef Dominic Tedesco will have you covered. Check out their coffee and smoothie bar, vegetarian options, catering, and top-flight service. Visit Unique Eats today at 3100 South Durango, Suite 100. Call 702-992-3038 or go to uniqueeatslv.com, and we'll see you all at Unique Eats.
101.5 FM, KDAWN.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
And we are back for one more segment here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDAWN 101.5 FM. We are the talk of Las Vegas. I'm Mark Hoke, your erstwhile host and, of course, producer.
What is that? Erstwhile?
Erstwhile.
What does that mean, man?
It's kind of a term. I'm there. I'm your kind, gentle, fantastic person.
Erstwhile.
Yeah.
So I can see you like on your covered wagon. Here comes the erstwhile.
Are you going to give? It's funny that some girl when I was in high school, when I played football, one of the managers called me Mr. Vocabulary. She would call me that.
Mr. Vernacular.
It was either Mr. Vocabulary or Mr. Dictionary or something like that. I have words. I know words.
Yeah,
that's
they
what
used
I
to call
do.
me Mr. Minus the Nary, but
Mr. Tardy probably.
Nah. Come on, man. Well, that's good. What was the word? Erstwhile?
Erstwhile. Yeah.
Hey, wrestling fans, we're learning something new today.
There you go.
Use that in a sentence this week and get a. I don't know.
Just give it up.
Good stuff.
David Difference over there.
Yeah, and I'm your erstwhile co-host.
Yeah. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
You do make a difference.
Why, thank you.
Yeah. So, want to thank Milhouse Malat and Bryan Alvarez. Boy, that was a lot of fun today so far.
It was, man. It was. I'm excited, and I love the wrestling community.
Yep. And, let me ask you this about that CM Punk situation here while we have a second.
That was interesting, huh?
How is it sustainable? How do you... I've had to deal with situations where you try to schedule somebody away from somebody else because they're not going to get along.
Mm-hmm.
That's not easy. Sometimes you need those people to work together. How long do you think AEW is going to be able to keep that up? If that's what they're doing is trying to keep Punk on one show and Omega and the Bucks on another and never the twain shall cross, that doesn't seem like something that's going to work.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult. I mean, that was an interesting take that he had on it. But, so I've ran companies before, and I had, coworkers that used to be partners, and I had to, either get rid of one of them, both of them, or put them on different shifts where they didn't see each other. But then you always had, the team meetings where everybody had to go to. And eventually, somebody had to go at some point. It just became too much. But that was very interesting because I was thinking – if you put Punk with these guys, it's all part of the show. They're all going to make more money. But the way he broke it down is they're not. Then I'm like, okay, maybe it's real.
Well,
it's still real to me, damn it.
Well, here's the one thing that I'll throw out on that, though, is in the immediacy of the moment, are you going to get more money on your paycheck? No.
Right.
But if you are drawing and you can fill stadiums and get more pay-per-view buys, that means the company makes more money, and then that means when your contract comes up, you make more money.
It could.
And it can lead to other opportunities, too. Look at what WWE does. They don't just do wrestling. I mean, they're all over the place. Their people are out there becoming huge movie stars and doing TV and everything else, and the more you get seen, the more opportunities come. So it's kind of a roundabout way of making money.
Yeah. Well, I don't think because you never know. This industry is so fickle. You're one company this day, one company the next. So I think it's everybody. You got to have an ego in this industry, right? If you're not getting the dough, how many people are actually looking out for the company? Because the company will drop you just like a job. A job will drop you in a second. So if you're putting everything you got into a company that you don't own, something's wrong with you. Invest in yourself, Mark Hoke.
There you go. Sage advice.
And that's the difference.
David Difference is firing it off.
Hey, you know what? Fun fact, the wheels on the bus go round and round, Mark. And I'm sorry.
Wow.
I've been throwing you under the bus lately.
It's okay.
I got to do some self-reflection, man. There's something wrong with me, Mark. It's not you.
No, you're just trying to stand out. It's okay.
Trying to? I don't have to try.
That's right.
I'm the guy.
That's what I'm saying. We got it. We're good.
Great, Mark.
David Difference just fighting all over the place.
Nah, great, Mark. So next week, everybody, we're just going to be super friends, man. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Great to see you. Good morning, buddy.
Not a chance.
Let's talk wrestling, yeah.
Not a chance.
Let's do it.
Nope.
Let's start right now.
Oh, my God.
We're having fun.
Oh, we're having a blast.
This is how we're going to end the show.
Oh, pretty
nothingness.
much. Pretty much. Yeah, by the way, the betting odds are up. If you want to go to betonline.ag, of course, go to our banner on markhokeshow.com first and sign up. And you get that big bonus, man. You put in 1,000, you get 500. It's a 50% matching bonus.
Oh, wow. Get that dough.
Some of the odds are up there. And as we wrap up the show, betting odds are dead even on Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa against the Usos.
Yeah.
Dead even.
Yeah, they can go either way. Either way, I just want to see that match, man. But if you Forbidden Door tonight, right?
Yep.
Chicas Bonitas. Are they playing it down there?
I highly doubt it. I highly, highly doubt it.
One way to find out.
Yeah.
You got to show up.
Unbelievable. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. We do appreciate it. I'm Mark Hoke, and for the David Difference, great time today. Bryan Alvarez, Milhouse Malott joining us. Appreciate them coming on the show today. And, guys, we will see you next week. Make sure you download those podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com. All your favorite podcast outlets. Subscribe to us on YouTube and all our social media. It's all Mark Hoke Show or The Mark Hoke Show. Just look us up and check out markhokeshow.com. Thank you, gang. We will see you next week. Have a great day, Las Vegas.
Yay.
Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.